Lesson 6.3, Solving One Variable Inequalities. This is a little bit different from yesterday because today we are solving when we have variables on both the left and the right side of the inequality. All right. Same big thing to watch out for today is to watch out if you divide both sides by a negative number, or if you multiply both sides by a negative number, you've got to flip around the inequality. I'm going to go a little bit faster today because it's our second day of this topic. All right. We're going to start with number 1. First things first, there's nothing to simplify. So I'm going to go ahead and start the solving process here. I'm going to add 5 to both sides of my equation. So now I've got negative 7a is less than 14. All right, now I get to divide both sides by negative 7. And before I do anything else, because I divided by a negative, I'm going to flip this inequality around, just so I don't forget. So I got a on the left is greater than 14 divided by negative 7, which is negative 2. There's my inequality. On the number line, I'm going to have an open circle. And since this is kind of pointing to the right, a is greater than negative 2, so we want our numbers are greater than negative 2. Problem 2. Personally, I always like to get rid of a variable if it's on the right side. I don't like it there. You may have heard from teachers to just look for wherever you have the bigger one. I don't do that. Just if there's something on the right, I get rid of it. So I'm going to get rid of this 18c. I'm going to subtract 18c from both sides of my inequality. All right, so now I've got negative 20c minus 15 is less than 5. Get to add 15 to both sides. Now I've got negative 20c is less than 20. And finally, divide by negative 20 on both sides. You just divided an inequality by a negative, so now we're going to flip this thing around. So now I have c is less than negative 1. Sorry, greater than negative 1, right, because we flipped it. Here's my inequality. On the number line, I've got an open circle, right, because this line is not there. And we are going to go greater than, because it's c is greater than negative 1, we're going to go to the right. Problem 3. All right, one more time. I don't like x's on the right. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to minus x from both sides of my inequality, just like when we would do this with equations. And I've got 6 minus 12x is less than or equal to negative 18. My next move is to subtract 6 from both sides, which leaves me with negative 12x is less than or equal to negative 24. All right, now I've got to divide both sides by negative 12. We just divided by a negative for the third time in a row. We have to flip this inequality around. And so now I've got x is greater than or equal to positive 2. All right, on my number line, now I'm going to have a shaded in circle, a colored in circle, because it does have that little or equal to symbol. And again, it says x is greater than or equal to 2, so we get to shade up the number line to the right. Okay. Problem number 3. Problem number 3, we've got a little bit of extra work to do because we've got parentheses. So before we start worrying about the inequality, let's deal with those parentheses. We are going to deal with this negative 1 right here. We're going to distribute it. 3 stays, and now we've got negative 1x minus 7 is greater than or equal to 9 plus 12x. All right, and again, before I start messing with both sides of inequality, let's clean this up. I can combine my like terms. I've really got negative 4 minus 1x is greater than or equal to 9 plus 12x. Now there's nothing left to simplify, so now I can start solving this inequality, right? Messing with both sides here. Going to get rid of the x on the right. I'm going to subtract 12x on the left as well to keep it balanced. So I've got negative 4 minus 13x is greater than or equal to 9. Okay, my next move is to add 4 to both sides, which means I've got negative 13x is greater than or equal to 13. And my final step is to divide by negative 13. And again, we divided by a negative. So before we forget, let's flip this inequality around. And I am left with x is less than or equal to 13 divided by negative 13 is negative 1. All right, on my inequality, I'm going to have a shaded in circle, but this time it says less than, right? X is less than or equal to negative 1, so we're actually shading to the left this time. Problem 5. All right, again, we've got parentheses to deal with. Let's deal with those first. So we've got 2 times x, which is 2x, and 2 times negative 4, which is negative 8. We're going to add 4. It's less than 10 minus 5x. All right, let's combine our like terms, which in this case is, let's see, I'm going to get negative 8 plus 4, which is negative 4, less than 10 minus 5x. And now we're going to go ahead and start solving, right, on both sides. First, I'm going to add 5x to get rid of it on the right. Add 5x to the left. And I've got 7x minus 4 is less than 10. Next, I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So I've got 7x is less than 14. And finally, divide both sides by 7. And I've got x is less than 2. Now note, we did not flip our inequality because this time, for the first time in this video, we did not divide both sides by a negative. So we just leave it alone. It stays a less than sign, and we get to shade to the left, right? X is less than 2, so we're shading where numbers are less than 2. All right, problem 6. Another parentheses to deal with here. So let's take care of that. We got 2x minus 3x. Negative times a negative is going to be a positive 9 is less than 7. We're going to combine our like terms. They're both on the left side, so just 2 minus 3x is negative 1x, plus 9 is less than 7. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 9 from both sides of my inequality. So now I've got negative 1x is less than negative 2. Divide out that negative 1. Don't forget to flip your inequality, right? You just divided by a negative again. And now I've got x is greater than positive 2. So on my inequality, I have an open circle because this or equal to line isn't there, and we are shading to the right. All right, last problem here. In this case, they give you an inequality that has x and y. And it tells you to write an inequality that represents all the possible values of y for blah, 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 when x is equal to 11. This right here is the key. All right. So I'm going to rewrite my inequalities just so I have it kind of in the middle here. Minus 4 less than or equal to 3, x plus 6. All right. We need to use this in our inequality. So hopefully you remember what we've been doing for the last little while. We've practiced substituting. X is equal to 11, so I'm going to use 11 in place of x. Okay, everything stays the same. Just the x has been changed to an 11 because they told me that x is equal to 11. And now we're going to clean this up. On the right side, I see 11 plus 6, and I'm just going to write 17. And we're going to go ahead and start solving. 3 times 17 is 51. Going to add 4 to both sides. And I get negative 11y is less than or equal to 55. And finally, divide both sides by negative 11. Just divided by a negative, so I'm going to flip my inequality around. This time I'm left with y. So y is greater than negative 5. All right, it's what we've been practicing, just with a tiny little extra step of plugging in a number that you have been given. All right, don't forget, guys, when you divide both sides by a negative or multiply both sides by a negative, flip that inequality around.